My setup's a little different today. I know I'm a few minutes late per usual. I wanted to see how everyone's doing. I'm playing with the mic, making sure I'm not too far away from it. I need to make a better setup. Like, can you tell I have like dishes in the background, which is fine. I'm in a kitchen setup. So let's talk about it. What's going on in your reality? I'm gonna just start rambling and let you guys kind of go from there. If you notice, my eyebrows are intense. I just got them microbladed. I do have my hair straight. I know you guys are usually used to me having my hair up, not giving an F, but you will notice a different Maria in the near future of things. Hold on, that's a call. I'm not going to take that because this time is dedicated to manifesting. So what's going on in your reality? What do you need help with? What can I clarify on? And yeah, we'll go from there. Like I said, so these lives are, we could do them as like, a lot of people usually have questions. It usually takes a few minutes for people to jump on. I did not announce it today. I normally do. Yeah, but I did announce it on social media yesterday. I think I might have to do a reminder the day of just to make sure everyone remembers. It is Friday. Everyone's excited for the weekend. So let's talk in general, okay? So something that I've noticed, and I'm definitely planning on making more videos about this, is I've noticed that people don't understand how to be the new self, right? Like, how do we embody a new state of someone that we've never been before? Someone we're not familiar with, someone that is unknown to us, right? Like, you got to remember, you are who you are based off of your choices. So there was a really famous Neil Donald Walsh quote that I heard quite recently, and I'm going to look it up because I don't want to just verbatim say it. Let me look up Neil Donald Walsh. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm trying to look it up. I can't find it at the moment. You know what? I'm going to look where it originally was because I thought this quote fits so well to like what happens in life. And like, it's true because we think we're defined by certain things when in reality we're not. Where is this quote? I swear to God, I just saw it today. And now it's going to bother me until I find it because I'm one of those people that okay, here it is. I just found it. I'm currently kind of reading this book that I love. I'll talk about it more probably on future lives. Give me 1 second. Where is this quote? Yeah, I can't find the quote for some reason, but I'm going to give it a second because I know exactly where it is. So, okay, here it is. And I'm going to screenshot it. What? Okay, here it is. For some reason, when I close it, okay, so every decision you make, hold on, where is it? I'm so organized today. Notice how I'm not putting emphasis on what's really going on. I'm saying, I'm so organized today. How is everyone, by the way? Hi, more people are slowly joining. Guys, I just want you to know that this live will be, I finally made it 20 lives, yay, which is extremely weird timing because something super, okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. Give me 1 second because I am trying to find this quote that I feel like is so fitting for today. Okay, I'm not gonna pause it. I'm just gonna read it as is. Okay, every decision you make is not a decision about what to do. It's a decision about who you are. So I kind of want to get into this topic, how your decisions define who you are. They make who you are. It's the state you're embodying. And this is why it's really important that we make decisions from the person that we want to become or the person that we already are, but we're in tuning with, we're quantum jumping to. Our decisions determine everything. Everything. It's a choice you make and just sticking to it. It's about commitment. And it's also about committing to that reality, that version of you, and also coming back to it, right? Being, I don't want to say dedicated, but being committed to that new version of you, making decisions and staying true to that person. And sure, there are going to be times where you're not making decisions from that reality. Hold on one second. It's so hot in here. I got to turn on the AC, guys. I thought the AC was on, but it's not. Okay. And let me go to that viewer's question. I usually have my YouTube open on my laptop too, just so I know what's going on and I could read. And you know what the weird part is about YouTube Live? It'll say that there's only like 4 of you at one time, and then I'll look afterwards and there were like 50. This whole thing never makes sense to me. Do you see how, did you hear the back noise? Okay, here's one comment. And like, if there's just a few of us today, that's okay. We can play with the different times. I'm still, you know, kind of troubleshooting this, learning how to do lives every week. We will go, like, it's all so different. Every week is different. But yes, I'm on and I'm on a live, but everyone's used to me coming late, so I might have to just come 10 minutes late all the time. Okay, let's read what Kay said. I finally made it to one of your lives. Yay. Which is extremely weird timing because something super weird happened today with SP that I have a question about. Well, if you've got a question, ask it. Here's the thing, guys. I want you to stop. And I know a lot of coaches will say, doesn't matter how much you think about SP. It doesn't matter how much you're doing techniques. And I agree with that, okay? And they're not wrong about that, but who are you being when you're thinking about SP? I want you guys to always consider that. If you have a question, that's great. I have no problem answering. But who are you being? Do you love my kitchen setup? You can see like my setup today is interesting, but that's okay. I wanted better lighting, and this is better lighting. I'm so off topic, but let's get back to it. Okay, when it comes to SP, I want you to think, and it's true, it doesn't matter how much you think about them, but I want you to think about something. The version of you that has them and is happy with them, are you thinking about them as much as you are now? And when you're thinking about them, which is okay if you are thinking about them a lot, but are you thinking of them from the version of you that has them? That's a good question, right? And if you're not, you need to train yourself to think about them less, okay? You need to consciously, because the reason you're thinking about them so much and longing for them is because you're not the version of you that has them in the first place, okay? So that needs to switch. While I will agree with coaches, it doesn't matter how much you think about someone, but the version of you that has them isn't longing for them, thinking about where they're at and stalking them. I'm not saying that all of you are doing that. And the you that has them isn't thinking about the future. They'll be mine soon. It's eventually coming. No, they're already yours, or they are becoming yours. They are now starting to become mine. If using the word they are mine is too triggering, or you're having a rough day, it's okay to say starting to, becoming to, but I'm not a big fan of like, this will eventually happen, because remember, you're manifesting from what you are. And some coaches will argue that doesn't matter, which to some extent it is kind of true, but in my experience, when people are holding it out in the future, they're keeping it in the future. It's about being it now, okay? So we either are together, or we're getting back together, or we're starting to talk, right? Like always, if you're triggered, use the word starting to or becoming to. Or we already are, or use present tense. I strongly am against they will be mine. It will happen. Why can't it happen now? Why can't you just accept it now? You're not accepting it then if you're holding it in the future. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, let me read into this because there's more questions and we will get into it. So I might start doing these lives at like 11:30 or 11:15, but we'll see. We'll see. This is going to change every week. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Okay. Haha. Okay, so he ghosted me. I was sitting with it and working on myself. Okay, why do you need to work on yourself? Guys, get out of this mentality that you need to work on something. Okay? You need to shift your self-concept. You need to shift being a different you. Choose a different you. I want you to get out of this idea that you have to work, because what does work imply? It's hard. It takes effort. Manifesting is effortless. So we need to change your self-concept about it being effortless, okay? So switch that around. That keeps people stuck too. So I'm going to throw that out to you, okay? I'm a very real coach, and I'm teaching you from the easiest, simplest ways to manifest. And me doing these things in my life have changed me drastically, and habits have a lot to do with it, just like I started in the beginning, but we'll get into it later. Okay? You know me. I'm very direct. This is just how I am. All right. Let's read back to this. Okay, working on myself by doing hobbies. You're prioritizing yourself. Okay, don't even, like I said, we're not using the word working on. I like and working out. Working out is great. Prioritizing yourself is great. Why wouldn't you be doing those things anyways? Guys, always prioritize yourself. Why the hell wouldn't you? Your SP is not more important than you. And if they're acting that way, that's because you have made it that way. It's a reflection of you. Remember, everything in your reality, down to the little minute detail, is all you, okay? It could very well be a bridge or a circumstance that needs to happen in order for something to unfold. That does happen too sometimes when weird things happen and you have like wonderful self-concept, but we're not talking about that right now. But I wanted to throw that out there because I feel like a lot of people get confused by that too. All right, coming back to this. I panicked, texted him. Okay, another thing we're going to talk about here. I'm going to kind of like break down what you're saying and then teach you things not to do, okay? Don't beat yourself up if you panic texted, but whenever you don't feel good about taking an action, don't do it. I tell people that all the time. That is basically your higher self telling you not to do it when it doesn't feel good. Sure, you can shift in 5 or 10 minutes and feel better if you know how to shift states very easily. Most people don't know how to shift states though, because a lot of people don't teach manifesting from manifesting from states. Okay, there's only a few coaches I know that do that. Like I do it, Tom Karen does it, and I'm not saying other coaches don't do it, but Kimberly does that, manifesting with Kimberly, and I've heard Sammy Ingram talk from that, and I love and respect all of them. Dylan James too teaches from that aspect, but I would say from a different terminology. He does talk about this in different ways. But regardless of the situation, a lot of people don't teach from states. But if you don't understand states, that's okay. That doesn't mean you can't manifest. You're always manifesting because everything's just a reflection anyways. Most importantly, if you do not feel good about something, don't do it. And I'll admit sometimes when you do a natural bridge of incidents, sometimes that might be required, but it's very rare. So don't ever act from panic. Anything that doesn't feel good, don't do it. If you're questioning even if you're like kind of semi-okay and you're questioning it, don't do it. I'm just telling you, don't do it. You're not, if it's feeling wonky or shitty or meh, don't do it. Do it if it feels natural, do it if it feels good, do it if it's what you don't, or if you don't have a second thought about it, meaning it's just, you know, what's supposed to happen. And that's usually natural, right? If it's natural or feels good or feels exciting or whatever, then do it. But those things are not forced, okay? And I'm not saying that's what you did here, but in a way it kind of was because you panic text, right? Because you needed validation that this person, right? But that I'm just breaking this down so you don't make these, I don't want to say mistakes, so you don't keep making these habit choices in the past. And mistakes is not a good word to use because then it implies we're doing something wrong. You technically are never doing anything wrong. You were just acting from the state that you were in, a panic state, right? So it's good to learn from our habits so we don't make the same habits again to keep us in those states. Okay, we'll just say that. Learning from your habits, your old habitual patterns or habits, which is pretty much the same thing. Okay, I panic texted him a week and a half ago asking why he ghosted. He responded. Okay, this morning saying he wasn't into it and he's sorry for ghosting. Well, it's nice he apologized. I responded, it's fine, but stem away from starting my boundaries by saying that's fine, but he says he should have just told me that. Okay, the reason he probably avoided it, and I'm just saying from the state that you're in, right? You have this kind of belief probably that he avoids you for sure, or that he's trying to ghost you, but you probably also have a belief that people can't be honest with you, or that people probably don't share how you feel, right? You had some insecurity about this happening, so it did. And that version of him probably didn't feel comfortable reaching out to you because they didn't want to have that conversation. It was uncomfortable. Do you see what I'm saying? So why not just manifest him being always honest with you no matter what, but in a nice and beautiful way because he's so in love with you. Do you see what I'm saying? Both are a choice and both are a state. So you just have to make sure that you're being that person and with the self-concept that can manifest that, and then also creating stories in that direction, okay? My main question is, so here's the thing. I get the whole idea of setting boundaries, and while I do agree with it, I disagree with it, because think about it. Does the version of you that has what you want have to set boundaries? That doesn't mean you have to deal with shitty behavior in this reality. One thing that I love that Dylan James says, and I think it's great, you sometimes don't, because if you're having to say something or set boundaries, that's meaning you're preparing for them not acting the way you want. So actually, I think not setting boundaries is a great thing. Setting boundaries in the moment is okay to protect yourself or to not deal with shitty bullshit. But if you're not liking what you're seeing, then ignore it. Then don't respond to it. Right? What does that basically tell you? You don't have to treat me. I'm not a person that gets treated like shit. I'm not a person that tolerates this. And then you're already starting to become that version. Do you see what I'm saying? A lot more can be done with silence. And I agree with that because even Dylan is a huge advocate for this. And I can't agree more. But the version of you that has what you want isn't setting boundaries because you have the relationship you want and the person's already respecting your boundaries. Do you see what I'm saying? Be the person that doesn't have to set boundaries. Be the person that is respected. And even when you don't say something you don't like in your reality, don't respond to it. Ignore it. It's better. I'm telling you, ignoring is better than setting boundaries. Just ignore. Because think about it. If you're dismissing it, you're not acknowledging it, you're not making more of it. If you're setting boundaries, you're acknowledging it and you're preparing yourself for more shit. Okay, I'm going to make a video on why I think setting boundaries is bad. Like, I think it's okay, like I said, in the moment, if you're dealing with shitty circumstance, it's okay to be like, I don't want to be a part of this conversation. You could just excuse yourself. You don't even have to explain why. You could just be like, I gotta go to somebody on the phone. Or you could just choose not to respond. Or you could choose to ignore it. Who was this? A couple of years ago, I remember someone saying that anytime they didn't hear what they liked or from their SP or whoever, they would just be like, they would pretend like they didn't hear it. They wouldn't respond to it. Ignore it. I'm telling you, just ignore it. It's the best. Some people might not like it in the moment, but it doesn't matter. It's your reality anyway. And then in your head, revise it right away and just let it go. Don't hold on to it. Imagine, just everything in this world is like clay. So think of it that way. And I mean, just create a self-concept where it doesn't matter, you know? And don't get too caught up in the semantics of everything. So many people get caught up in the semantics. Okay, so let me read more. Sorry, this is so long. How can you work on self-concept at the same time as moving past his bad behavior? What bad behavior? Look what I'm doing there. What do you mean bad behavior? What bad behavior? I don't know what you're talking about. Stop acknowledging it. Listen, I'm not telling you that you're not allowed to be frustrated. You're not allowed to be mad. This is not about, some people would call this toxic positivity, and I don't agree with that either, okay? Because that's bullshit too, in a sense. But manifesting is about dismissing what you're saying and being something else. That doesn't mean that you can't feel it in the moment. That doesn't mean you can't be frustrated or pissed off. That doesn't mean you can't have a bad minute, hour, or day, okay, or week. Or let's not go longer than that, because some of us like to dwell in shit because it's what we're used to. The whole point is, okay, you don't like what's going on. You can be angry for a bit. You can be mad for a bit. You can be sad for a bit, okay? Let yourself feel. This isn't about not being human, because even God feels, right? It's just your emotions are your guidance system. They're telling you, hey, you're off course. What you're focusing on right now is not for you. That's all it means. Literally doesn't mean anything else. It's just saying, hey, this is not for you. So stop creating more of it. That's what your soul's telling you. And I get it that you get pissed off and you get annoyed and you don't like this, and that's fine. But in the moment, be like, okay, this is showing up. I'm not liking it. Oh, I feel triggered. Oh, I feel ignored. Oh, I feel, I'm feeling ignored. I'm feeling dismissed. I'm feeling disrespected. You can acknowledge those things. But then you could be like, okay, do I want to sit in this some more and create some more? Or am I going to acknowledge what's happening, be okay with what I'm feeling, and move on, right? And then focus on what I want. Guys, it's just about dropping the freaking story, if I'm being really honest, okay? You just need to be conscious. And I get it. There are some programs that we're not focused on changing, but when we're not feeling good, it's an indication you are off course, my darling. You are not focusing on what you want. It's kind of a warning, like, warning, warning, you might create something you don't like. Or warning, warning, this action is not for you, okay? If it doesn't feel good, don't stay in it. Feel it, let it go, move on, and then focus on what you want. Because you can turn it around just like that. I've done it multiple times in my life. And just because something doesn't feel good doesn't mean it's not for you. It just means you're thinking about the wrong thing when it comes to X, whatever it is, right? When it comes to SP, or when it comes to the third party, or whatever the circumstances, okay? Right. I low-key feel like I'm telling him, hold on, how to treat me, and that's so embarrassing. You shouldn't have to tell him how to treat you. Just be the example. Then stop Kate. It's because, here's the thing. So you think, because this is what we're taught in reality, right? If I tell somebody my boundaries and I set limits, they're going to respect me, right? And I get that from a 3D mentality, right? Like from a, I don't understand manifestation, everybody has their own free will aspect. If you understand that everyone is a reflection of you and everything stems from you, how does that serve you? It does not serve you. If you have to set a boundary, like I said, in the moment, meaning like you decide the boundary should be, I'm going to ignore this so I don't create more of it. That's what I would do. I'm telling you, dismissing something is the best way to get rid of it. Feel it in the moment, don't like it. And like, obviously, if someone's being super rude or yelling at you or whatever, you could just choose to walk away. You don't have to scream at them. You could, or you could be like, I gotta go. Or I don't want to talk to you like this, and just walk away. What does that do? It's the same thing. It's dismissing yourself from the situation, or pretend you didn't hear it. If let's say annoying coworker, I'm not saying this, or let's say a stupid person on the street that's drunk looks at you and is like, fuck you. You have the right? If it's a stranger, you're probably just gonna be like, especially if they're drunk, right? Like, because there are people who walk around, unfortunately, right? Like, I always imagine for people like that they're better and they're not in a homeless situation. But let's say it's like a random homeless person, because it does happen in real life, or someone who's mentally ill. You know, it doesn't matter really. And they just scream profanities on you in the street. Are you gonna get offended? If you're having a bad day, you probably will. 90, depending on your temperament, some people do really get pissed off and like let that linger. Me, usually I'm just like, that person's not in the right mind. That projection you're seeing isn't in the right mind. Neither is that person. That's not who they truly are. It's just a reflection of your belief. Start thinking that. Start trusting that when people aren't treating you the way you want, it's just an old belief that you need to change. It's not who they really are. Because who they really are is what feels good to you. They want to be that version for you. That's why they don't have free will, and they allow themselves to project whatever you're being. They love you that much that they'll be whatever you want them to be. So the best thing to do is give them love, and you give them love by not entertaining that anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? Walk away. It's because, you know what the difference is between the person on the street that's, drugged up or not all there, versus, and I don't even want to use that word because I understand some people, there are people in our reality that unfortunately are mentally ill. It's a real thing, right? They are projections of us, and we can heal them. Absolutely. We know we can heal anyone. That's not who they really are in their essence, and neither is your SP. Don't give it so much meaning. It only means more to you with your SP because you have more of an attachment to them. And the person on the street you're able to dismiss, right? Or when somebody honks at you in the car like an angry driver. Dismiss it all. Just start thinking from like, you know what? That's not who they truly are. Maybe think that to yourself. That's not who they truly are. You know what? I'm going to imagine who they truly are when it doesn't feel right. Anytime you bump up against something in your life, start thinking to yourself, that's not who they truly are. That's not their God self. Their God self will be nice. Their God self is kind. Their God self is what feels right to me. So I'm going to manifest that in my head. Just be like, that's not who they truly are. Because if you're thinking that to yourself when someone's rude in your head, I'm not saying say that to someone, that'll give you the option. So put that in your toolbox. I'm going to probably make a video about it. Okay? Hi, Maria. How to ignore physical pain. That is the only thing stopping me from believe I have my full manifestation. So pain is caused by the attention of pain, right? So let's talk about pain, because it happens to me, okay? I'm guilty of it. I'm human. I'm a female. Us females, as you guys know, some guys don't want to hear it. I don't care if you're going to hear it. It's a very real thing we deal with every month. Women have their periods, right? Like, I'm not going to get into the gross aspects of it. But I've noticed when I focus on the pain, it gets worse. Okay. So what do I know? If we understand where our focus goes, energy grows. That's what, where focus goes, energy flows. It's the same, it's the same thing. Like life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. Okay. So if I have pain in my body, which I believe that when I have my period, I have horrible cramps. It's a very real thing I've believed for a long time. Okay. Sometimes to the point where I can't even get up until I take medicine. And the reason I feel better after I take the medicine, it's a placebo, right? I feel better. But I'll be honest with you, if I sit there and grunt and get pissed off and, oh, it hurts, it gets worse. It always does. That's how it is with anything. So, and there's been times in my life where I'm going through, whether it's, turmoil, I've dealt with really bad anxiety, or I've dealt with, it doesn't matter what aspect of pain it is, if it's mental, physical, emotional, right? Remember, the more we focus on it, the more of it we get. Because we're being the person. If I'm in pain and I'm focusing on the pain and it gets more intense, I'm being the person in pain. So even in those moments when you're feeling the pain, the best thing you could do is just trying to feel relief for a split second. Or just be like, or if that's too hard for you to grasp, if you're in a lot of physical pain, I would just start believing, oh wow, I'm feeling better. Wow, the pain's lessening, right? That will help you in essence, because when the pain is lessened, you can be like, oh wow, the pain's finally gone. Or you can just feel the relief. Think of a time when you're not in pain, or when you weren't dealing with that ailment, right? Or you revise the cause that caused the pain, right? Obviously, I'm not going to revise not having my periods, because in this reality, you need a period to have a child, right? I just need to revise that I have bad cramps or bad periods, whatever you want to call it, or bad feminine PMSing, whatever. It's like a whole thing. Okay. A lot of women believe that in this reality. And I fall victim to it too sometimes. I'm bloated. I'm bitchy. But then I'm just like, why am I believing all this shit? Here's something I'll joke about. And I know some of you, maybe the guys aren't going to like this info, but it doesn't matter. When I was younger, I used to have it for a week. We'll just say that. It would be a whole week and I hated it. And this happened for a long time. And when I started to understand manifesting, I started to believe that I only get it for a few days. 3-4 days, and it changed. Do you believe me when I tell you that? I only get it now for a few days because I have that belief. It's different for everyone. So it's the same thing with the pain thing, right? So the more you focus on the pain, the more pain you're going to have. Okay. So the most important part, like I said, you can either revise whatever caused the pain. So it wouldn't matter if you're in pain now, just feel the relief of it. And you would have to be a little more detailed for me to help you with that, but I hope that helped. Okay. Let's get back to Joanna. Ignoring. Guys. Okay. Hold on. Let's get back to ignoring. Okay. Cause I want to be really let's go back to ignoring. Cause I think ignoring is good, but you also have to accept what's going on too. Okay. And but it's doing it from a place where you don't get triggered. Okay, this isn't about going and looking or stalking or checking the 3D. No. But if we're trying to be a new self, right, we're understanding that sometimes things are going to continuously show up in our reality until we shift, right? And then it's instant, because that's how it is. I don't give a shit what any coach says. Everything is instant. It did not take you a week, a month, a year to manifest something, or 4 years. It just took you that long to shift. Shifting is a choice. And sometimes it might take a little bit longer because you have more stories about it. That's all it is. It's just stories. You just have to shift to that person. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes it might be a little more challenging. It just depends on you, okay, and your beliefs. I can't tell you if it's going to happen now or a week from now. But if you make that choice and stick to it, you will shift, okay, especially if you're manifesting through states, okay? It's usually pretty quick. Ignoring is about ignoring what you're seeing versus reacting to it, meaning I said to use this example when people aren't treating you right. Instead of, right, if you start arguing with someone, what does that say? You're still that person that gets disrespected. If you're having to set boundaries, you're still being that person. The best way to walk away from it is let it go. Ignoring is another way of letting go, okay? You can accept that, oh, this is happening, but you don't have to stay in it. You are acknowledging it to some extent, even when you're making that choice, but think to yourself, this is not who they truly are. What does that mean in the moment? Think about it. If in the moment your boss is yelling at you and you're like, this is not who they truly are, in your mind, right? You're thinking this because you're being conscious. You're thinking to yourself, I have the wrong version. This is not who they truly are. And then you walk away from the conversation. You're not engaging with it anymore. You're accepting what's going on, but you choose not to be that person anymore by ignoring or by walking away. Or maybe in that moment being like, I can't talk about this right now. Can we talk about this later? What are you doing? Same thing. Those are always options you have at your disposal. And then go into your mind of what you would want and continue living in the end when you think about it. Literally, that's what I mean by ignoring. It's not ignoring. It's not ignoring. The word I was saying was not ignoring. It's dismissing what's going on. You're dismissing. You're not engaging with it. You're not having conversations about it. You're not fighting it. And you're not getting triggered about it because you know better. You know who you truly are. And being in your I amness is just as important in your self-concept. So coming back to, I'm the God of my reality. I know who I truly am. I feel comfortable knowing I could be who I truly am. And you're, like I said, this isn't a perfect thing. You're human. You're going to feel emotions and you're going to have your moments. Okay. But remember, anytime anyone's acting up in your reality, and I'm going to use it, this is not who they truly are. Who do I choose instead? Think that to yourself in your mind. And you'll shift, and eventually you'll start believing, because there's people in your reality that treat you well because you believe they treat you well. So they have to be that character for you. So just start believing that everyone treats you well, even strangers. That doesn't mean you're not going to have off moments. You're human, but you shift back to it. I'm telling you, do anything enough. It's just like brushing your teeth or snapping your fingers or talking, right? We walk, we talk, we poop, we burp, we, I don't know, move our hands with no resistance because we've done it so much. This is all a manifestation too. Could I move my hands without thinking about it? No. Could I talk without thinking about it? No. Could I blink my eyes without thinking about it? No, but it's automatic. So I don't have to think about it. It's who I am and it's what I do because it's natural to me. And you guys all have your own habits and a lot of us have the same habits. You know, obviously with the drinking, eating, pooping, all that stuff, we're all human. Okay. Not to get into gross things. I know we're talking about a lot of body stuff. Okay, I only have about 10% left on my iPad, so that probably equates to, I don't know how much longer, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. When it gets closer to the 5% mark, I'll let you guys know, and then I'm going to have to cut it a little shorter today because I've had a busy morning. I've had a lot going on. I've been getting up a lot earlier now, and as you notice, I'm more dressed up. So be used to me being out of sweats. Not that you're not going to see me in sweats anymore if it's evening, but okay, on to other things. Okay, let me see. For example, I have scans coming up. What scans? What scans? Just believe the doctor was wrong. I don't know what you're dealing with, but I would just revise. You need to revise, Dee. Your best option here is revising. And just believe that the scans come back clear. That's what I would believe. Just imagine that the scans came back clear. Scans came back clear. Just live in that anytime you think about it, even when you get anxiety. And if you're getting anxiety, then you're not in your I amness enough and you're not remembering who you truly are. You're thinking that everything's separate from you when it's not. You are one with everything. I see that. I see your comment. It's the same thing. Health scans don't matter. They came back clear. The doctor was wrong. Why not just believe that they were wrong? They got the scans mixed up. Those weren't your scans. Those were someone else's. That could happen. I mean, we live in infinite realities. Or the doctor made a mistake. It was something else. It was a cough or something instead of... I mean, do you know how many times people are wrong about scans? I'm going to tell you a quick story, okay? I'm going to get a little off topic, but I think it'll give you some faith. So I have a friend, I'm not going to say her name. Her mother was starting to experience blood when she would cough up, okay? And I love her mom. I've known her mom since I was since I was young. I've been friends with this friend for over 20 years. We're pretty close. They don't know jack shit about manifesting. I've tried to steer her in that direction, but it's okay. Could I imagine for her? Sure. But I'd rather just imagine her having a great life. I can only imagine so much for so many people. I mean, I'm a coach. And of course I always wish the best for everybody in my life, I've helped her in lots of ways, but regardless of that, she's me pushed out. I am her. Her mom started coughing up blood, right? So I remember her telling me, oh my God, we're scared. We don't know what it is. And I just looked at her and I'm like, it's nothing. And she's like, you don't know. That's the first sign of cancer. And she's like, they're going to do a biopsy on her. And they found, like, I don't know what you would call lesions on her lungs or like scar tissue. They really thought it was cancer. Like, they believed it was cancer. And I'm sure initially when she was coughing up the blood, it probably was cancer in that reality. But I just kept saying, it's nothing. I'm sure they're wrong. Could be anything else. Okay? So she goes and gets the biopsy done. My friend's freaking out. It's like a week or two after. And I told her, I'm like, I have a feeling it's nothing. I bet you it's just from like a cold or something. Okay? So I don't know when it was. This was a couple months ago. Okay? So like, I didn't obviously follow up with my friend on it because it didn't really matter. And if I have no resistance to something and I imagine it just like 2-3 times, sometimes just once, it usually comes true. So I don't worry about it unless I hear something else about it, right? I don't go looking when I know it's going to be okay because I am God. I am source. Everything comes from me. Everything starts and begins with me. And if I choose to jump to that reality, that's the reality they're in. So I was talking to her maybe 2 months ago. And guess what? I'm having a conversation with her and I'm like, what happened with the scans? And she's like, oh, I think they have to do another scan. And I was like, okay, I'm sure it's nothing. She's like, I don't know. I'm starting to worry. Now they're doing the biopsy. Because I think at first they like scrape the lung. They take an x-ray when they think something's wrong. That was the thing. When they found the x-ray, they were worried. And then they noticed like, what would look like tumors, right? And they were freaking out. And then they did a biopsy. And that's when she's like, oh man, it's, a biopsy. That's scary. It's probably cancer. That's what they were all thinking. They were probably in that reality. And I was just like, no, it's nothing. And then I saw her mom. Let me define this because I forgot this aspect of it. And I was talking to her mom. And this was like, mind you, your manifestations always come to you. This was not something I was persisting in. This is something I thought about a few times and I let it go, okay? This was probably like 2 or 3 months after the fact. I'm out with them for ice cream and we're all talking, me, her, and her mom, because I've known her mom a long time. And I always talk to her mom. I love her mom. She's a very sweet woman. And we're talking about the fact that someone in my family is moving to Florida and they want me to move there. That's another conversation for another day. But she goes, yeah, I don't think I should stay in the cold because it doesn't help my lungs. She's like, remember how I was coughing up that blood? And I was like, yeah. She's like, that's just what happens to me because of the cold. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, it that's all it was. It has something to do with I forgot how she explained it, but it was like, I even told my friend it's probably a cold or it's something like manageable. I highly doubt it's cancer. And it was not cancer. My friend's mom coughing up blood is just a symptom from like a sensitivity or something. Could I manifest that going away? Absolutely. Will I imagine that for her? Absolutely. But all I'm trying to say is it ended up not being cancer and it could have. And you have that same choice with the scans. Okay? Guys, it's not that complicated. Choose a better story. And if you don't believe that you can do it, then you need to focus on self-concept and I amness and remembering who you truly are. Okay? Okay, I'm not at less than 10%, so let's look at this. You're welcome, Kay. There's no such thing as impossible without consent. What are you talking about without consent? Huh? Consent is not needed. What do you mean consent is needed? There is no such thing as impossible without consent. Consent is not needed. The only consent you need is yourself. Listen, you could manifest anything you want. And I'm a huge advocate for only imagining the best for people, right? You don't want to imagine bad things. I'm not for that, harming anyone or wishing anyone ill will or dying or those kind of things I'm not for, okay? And no. But regardless of the situation, like I don't know what you mean by that. Consent is not needed. The only person, if you're not separate from anyone, it's all you anyway. There's a parallel reality of you that has it, so you just pair with it. That's not how this reality works. Consent is never needed. So I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe if you mean with your own consent, no consent is needed. Like everything is with your own consent. Yes, not with other people's. So I just want to clarify that because I know some people like to teach that consent's needed and everybody has their own free will and we co-create bullshit. No, we don't. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. You're welcome, Joanna. Okay. What's the difference between, oh, Chip, get down. You're hitting me. After a while, I have to like kick my dog off my lap because it gets a little tiring. Okay. I need a better setup. I need to make a permanent one. Okay. And I'm going to work on that, I think, this weekend, so I can do more lives with you guys. I will start going live on Instagram too, but the YouTube one is going to be every Friday at 11 a.m. Okay. Let's go back to this. I honestly really believe it's instant. I've had some weird instant manifestations. Why are they weird? They're not weird. But I get what you're saying. Like, it's hard. It's because you were in the state already. You were already being that person. That's why it's instant, okay? You don't manifest from thoughts. You manifest from beliefs. Your state of consciousness, who you're currently being as a costume, the identity you're wearing. What's the difference between limerence and manifesting with an SP? What? I don't know what that means. What's limerence? Let's look it up. I'm going to look it up because I don't know what you mean by limerence. Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay. I'm going to look up I believe what you're saying, but I'm going to look it up. Okay, you Googled it. Thank you. Limerence is a state of infatuation or obsession with another person that involves all-consuming passion and intrusive thoughts. It's often a result of not being present either through... Okay, so this is a belief... a psychological belief, okay? I'm not here to knock on psychology. While some of it has to do with manifesting, a lot of it does not, okay? This is logical nonsense. Now, one thing I will tell you, when someone, and this is, the truth, and there is some psychology to this, and I'm not going to lie about this, when you desire something or you want to be with someone, there's a reason. It could be coming from your lower self, meaning your ego, right? Sometimes we only desire things because we want the satisfaction of having it, meaning it's not a true desire. It's not your higher self desire. That does happen sometimes. Sometimes we only want people because they've rejected us. This is like a psychological thing. And this is why some people give up on their SPs. It's a very real thing, okay? But wanting something doesn't mean it's obsessive. A lot of people that do come to manifesting, they are a lot of times not in the right state of consciousness, meaning they feel lack and they feel it is logical nonsense. Okay, so here's the thing. Thinking about someone a lot is not a bad thing, but you got to remember, okay, I've got like 3 more minutes. I'm going to let you guys go, okay? And this is the last thought I'm going to do because, like I said, I don't have a lot of battery on my iPad and I got things to do today. Okay, so back to what I was saying. If it cuts off, just know it wasn't intentional, just my battery died, okay? And I want my microphone on because I feel like it's more clearer during the lives. So going back to the thought of when someone is, this limerence idea, okay? A state of infatuation or obsession. Like I said, sometimes we want what we want because we feel we want it for a sense of satisfaction. That's when things come from your ego, okay? And this is why some people no longer want their SP, or they outgrow them, or they realize they deserve better, or whatever the belief is, okay? Everything manifests differently for everyone. But if it's not your true desire, it can happen to that some extent. I wouldn't say to what limerence is. It's not a state of infatuation. You just think you need this to feel a certain way, okay? But in some way, a lot of people, here's the truth. A lot of people, when they come to law of assumption to get their specific person, it's usually not for the right reasons. It's not that they don't love their person. It's not that their person isn't right for them. So really listen when I'm speaking so none of you take it the wrong way, okay? We are looking outside of ourselves when we should be looking within ourselves. We're looking to our SP for love, for validation, to feel secure, to feel enough, to feel important, whatever and usually it's around those beliefs. It's something to do with those things, give or take a few things. Not always the same thing for everybody, okay? But you do not need that person for those things. We think we need that person for those things. And that's why we're unable to manifest them, because we are not being those things. So it's kind of a dichotomy, right? The thing that brings you to a lot of people to law of assumption is specific person, because you can manifest a specific person. But a lot of people come with the wrong concept of self, the wrong concept of fulfillment, the wrong concept or the wrong perception or the wrong state of consciousness. Do you see what I'm saying? So you think you need that person, but you don't. Those things need to come within yourself. You need to feel loved. You need to feel important. You need to feel good enough. And that's why a lot of times when people finally fulfill themselves, they're like, wow, I was really settling. This wasn't for me, because that wasn't their true desire. And that's why some people don't give up, because it was their true desire. So I can't speak individually for all people, but this isn't completely answering your question. But yeah, that is psychological, not, mumbo jumbo. If you desire something, there's a reason you desire it. Okay. Now, if you desire something else at some point, like another SP or someone better looking or someone with more money or better qualities, whatever that is, not that you can't change your SP and you can't make them more richer, more better looking, or having better qualities, you absolutely can. But you may not choose that anymore, because then it wasn't really your desire. You probably to some extent wanted it because you got rejected. Sometimes we want what we can't have. It's like so there is some truth to psychology, some things I would say, but it depends on the state of consciousness that you're in. Then it wasn't a true desire. I'll tell you that. Then it really wasn't what you really wanted. It was just in that moment, or in that. And a lot of times why people change their SPs or change what they desire is because they've changed. They're not their old self anymore. That version of them may have wanted them, but the better, more fulfilled version of them wants something different. Do you see what I'm saying? So it kind of depends on the state of consciousness that you're in. So there is a difference between desiring something from like ego, and your ego is not your enemy. Don't take it like that. Wanting something from I don't want to say the wrong state of consciousness is not the right word either, but wanting something just to want it and then truly desiring it. Big difference. Does that make sense? Hopefully that did. And honestly, this varies. And here's the thing, I can't give you a definitive answer. Here's one thing I want you to tell you guys when you're asking a coach questions. At least this is my perspective, and I'm not saying all coaches think this way, but I always think this way. You got to remember, we all have different beliefs. We are all different people. We all have different character traits based off of who we're choosing to be, because we can change that at any moment. True, right? Or who we're choosing to be. And we've all had different life experiences which are shaping our beliefs. So everything's not going to be quite the same for everyone. And some people might like what I've said, or some people may have not. But a lot of times when you're in that obsessive, and I'm not saying in an unhealthy, because there's healthy obsessive and there's unhealthy obsessive, okay? For some people, the word obsessive is unhealthy. And for some people, it's healthy. No two people see the same thing the same way, right? So it really depends on how you feel about it. But there are times that sometimes we only want something because it's not for, I don't want to say it's not for the right reasons, but it's not a true desire. It's not that you can't manifest them, absolutely. But you change your desire because it wasn't really what you wanted. You thought it was what you wanted, but it was more, it's when you're wanting something through pain versus what you truly desire. It's kind of one of those, it's very different and very personal for every person. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah, my iPad hasn't died quite yet. And I'm going to read one last comment. I honestly believe it's instant. Okay, you talked about this. Don't think of bad thoughts as limiting beliefs. Limiting implies it has power over you. They are just different thoughts, if that makes sense. You're not wrong about that. The truth is nothing is really bad, okay? But we use that word because that's what people know. You know what? You make a good point with the limiting belief aspect, but it is limiting because it's not allowing you to be abundant. So call it what you may. I mean, I get what you're saying and I get where you're coming from, it, Ninx, and you're making a great point. Bad thoughts, I would just say they're not aligned with your desire. Because the truth is, even the bad thoughts are you. they're God too, right? There is no really bad or good, which I talk about all the time, but most people don't think from that perspective. So that's why you got to be in a different state of consciousness to talk about that. Now, when it comes to limiting beliefs, while you're right, they're all beliefs, right? If we look at it as a whole, right? Everything is perfect, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, limiting, expansive. It is all you. Nothing is really right or wrong, evil or good, however you want to interpret it. But I get what you're saying and I get where you're coming from, but there are really limiting beliefs because they limit you. Something being limiting isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just something holding you back. Okay, so while I get what you're saying, I never say that limiting beliefs have power over you. I just say change your limiting beliefs. You make a good point, but it's not the same as good or bad. I would argue that there are things that limit you, because if that was the case, having a limiting belief wouldn't prevent you from getting you what you want, right? Like if limiting beliefs had no power, or if your beliefs had no power, okay, then how come here's the truth. It's your predominant beliefs, right? Your predominant thoughts. It's who you think you are based off the current state of consciousness that you're in. So there are limiting beliefs. That is a real thing because some beliefs are expansive and others are limiting. Limiting from you getting what you want. But I get what you're saying. It's not good or bad, and nothing really is. So that I agree with. I know we had to kind of go running around with that a little bit. All right. I don't want my iPad to just shut off on me. It was wonderful seeing everyone. I think I'm going to keep this at the same time. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to answer everything. And the truth is I'm only going to do this for about anywhere from an hour and a half every Friday. Okay. I may even push it to like 11:30. We'll see, but, be prepared. 11 o'clock next week. Great seeing you all. Have a great day and we will talk soon and be prepared for more videos. Bye.